You know what? No! This tank does not deserve the awesomeness that is the Italian anthem. This tank deserves just piles of dog shit thrown at it until Wargaming finally decides that it shouldn't have the DPM of a wet dog, but instead it should have something going for it. And I'll tell you why. After I thank my people that follow me on MySpace and support me on Patreon, wait, I'm not big enough for Patreon. But thanks for following me on MySpace. Twitter. Anyway, the Regretto 65 is the name that you would probably give this tank the moment you do unlock it on the tech tree in the real life server. As it stands now, you regret having played that entire line to get a tier 10 tank with less DPM than a tier 4. The reason for that is that it takes 43 seconds still to reload an entire clip after unloading. 43 seconds. That's still longer than any other auto-loading tank. I can't remember what video I was talking about this tank in, but it takes 43 seconds to fully load your clip. That is ridiculously long still. Now mind you, I'm playing this with rammer vents and food. Spaghetti and meat sauce, apparently, is what Wargaming decided to give these crew members. That gives my first reload after firing one shot 8 seconds. Okay? With 360 alpha, 8 seconds is slower than an E50M using rammer vents and chocolate or food for his crew. So that means that the Spaghetto 65, if it was to fire single shots, has a slower reload than the E50M and 30 less alpha. Okay? So that means you're gonna have to play this tank like an auto-loader, which means you have to unload your clip into people if you want to get, you know, somewhat damage out of things, which means that you're going to actually lower your DPM because it takes 43 seconds to get all your shells back. As it stands now with my crew, it would take 8 seconds, 9.7 seconds, 11.3 seconds, and 12.93 seconds. So I fired all of my shots, then I have to wait 13 seconds to get one shell back. Then I have to wait 11.31 seconds, which means by now a TVP is reloaded and can clip me for another 1280. And I can only put 2 shots back in. So that means that I take 1280 and I do 720. Trading with an autoloader is also a bad idea. So I cannot out DPM if I was to fight a normal medium tank, single shot. And I cannot out DPM autoloaders because they will kill me because they reload faster. So what is really the point of the Regretto 65? You are nothing but support. You're everything that is support. All the time you are a support tank. And in this matchup, I am in the perfect situation to just do maximum damage that I can. And even though I can do a lot of damage in this game, I'm still thinking, do I really want to fire the shell or not? Do I really want to like wait for my 8 seconds shell reload to come back? Or do I want to fire it now? Do I want to go full autoloader? Or do I want to fire maybe 2 shots and then he pulls back and then I have time to reload for 17 seconds, right? In an autoloader it is simple. I fire my shells, I reload. I fire 2 shells, I click reload. In the Spaghetto Regretto, I fire a shell and then I'm gonna have to start calculating for about 14 minutes thinking, can I actually like fire another shell? Do I have time to reload? This tank needs time, just like you need time to think with this tank. And I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy having to think so much, having to constantly decide, will I get punished if I fire another shell? Will I get punished if I go for a full unload? Because that is how you fight enemy medium tanks, right? If I was to be 1v1 against the Centurion Action 10, for example, I would have to unload on him and then run and then hope he doesn't catch me and then wait for me to come back fully reloaded, because there's no point in coming back after 13 seconds to fire 1 shell and then run away again. This requires a lot of thinking in this tank. A lot of thinking. And the perfect example was the FV poking over the ridge. I fired 1 shell and then I was like, do I want to fire the second one or not? And even before I could make the decision, he already pulled back. So I got my shell back, I'm 400 magazine, the FE starts crossing. Now he's out in the open for a prolonged amount of time. That is when I can unload my clip, because that is when I have his side. That's when I'm fully go for launch, pretty much. Then I was reloading, and then the Regretto 65 on the enemy team popped up, which meant that I had one shell back. And that is the situation where the Regretto is actually better than any other autoloader. I got one shell back to make the kill, to have my team just, you know, slightly positive. It's good that we're up a kill, you know, a gun less in the game for the enemy team. But then I have to still deal with another 43 seconds to get all my shells back. And no, I was not going to fire at the Jaeger. I would never pen. This tank does have 268mm of penetration. But the front of a Jaeger at that angle is very, very difficult to pen. So, the Regretto, it doesn't like to get rushed. It needs time. It needs the enemy to make stupid mistakes. That is where the Regretto will actually shine. If the enemy makes mistakes and give you time, yeah, this tank will do great. And that's exactly what happened in this game. My average damage in this tank is somewhere like 2000, and that is terrible. Because Wargaming buffed this tank in the second iteration. This is a second iteration gameplay. This is 2.5 seconds between shots instead of 2.7. Hello, pings. And improved gun handling. Now, it needed the gun handling improvement. It had the STB1 gun handling, plus the terrible DPM, plus terrible aim time. It was god-awful in the first iteration. Now it's better, but Wargaming still thinks that 43 seconds is... I'm gonna mention it so often because it's terrible, let's be honest. 43 seconds is still a good amount of time for reloading, and 8 seconds between shots, because they don't want you to play this single shot, but at the same time they don't want you to play this autoloader. But they do want you to play it more autoloader, because they buffed the time between shells from 2.7 to 2.5. This is a slow tank. This is not a great tank. This tank would be so much better, but not overpowered, if it had somewhere between 30 and 35 total seconds reload. Because then you're still slower than the TVP, you are about the same speed as a Bat Chat, but you have the flexibility to reload 2 shells and then maybe go in and take a kill or make a kill, and then go away and then reload again. You have the ability to be so incredibly dangerous. Also, I had the kill on the TVP, pretty much guaranteed, but I rolled for 288 instead of 360 or whatever I needed to kill him. That is quite low for my alpha, but it's okay because I have one shell back. Like, this is the perfect situation. I have a shell back, I see the TVP, I can now aim and kill him, and now I can start my reload again for that second shell, which is something that's terrible. I was halfway through that, but no, let's start over. The system just was like, no, throw it out, we need to start over right away. So I still think that Wargaming should buff the reload speeds of the shells all by a tiny bit. We don't need 13 seconds to get one shell back after unloading. We don't need 8 seconds or 8.5, or if you don't have any equipment or consumables, 10 seconds. Yes, it actually takes 10 seconds to just get one shell back. That is quality Wargaming. That's absolute quality. We don't need that. Give the first shell like a standard, let's say 6.5, maybe 7 seconds reload. That is slightly better than the STB1, slightly better than the Patton, slightly better than the AMX 30B. And it's good because you have 30 less alpha than all those tanks. And then make the next 3 reloads variable to give it a total reload of somewhere between 35 and 40 seconds, maybe 30 and 35, depending on how good your crew is, plus equipment and consumables. That is how you make this tank slightly more competitive, instead of just, I have to wait for a full minute. I have the slowest reload of any autoloader, and lower DPM than all of them. But at least I get to kill an STRV, except that I don't kill him because I roll low again, so I don't even get the kill. Anyway, Regretto. Probably still gonna end up getting it anyway, because that's who I am.